Okay, so welcome back, and in this video, I'll be discussing about the morning star. So let's have a look, right? Visually, what it means. So a morning star basically is a three candle pattern, right? So notice that there is three candle here, one, two, and three, right? And here's how the morning star come about. So what you have is the first candle is a bearish candle where the sellers are in control and they push price all the way down, lower, closing near the lows. Okay, so this candle tells you that the sellers are in control. And what happened in the second candle is interesting because usually when you get a strong bodied candle, chances are the next candle tend to continue the move. So what happened is that this second candle didn't continue the downside. Instead, what you have is a doji. And it tells you that both the buyers and sellers are in equilibrium. Okay, so this means that this candle came down, closed lower, sellers are in control. Second candle, it tells you that both the sellers and buyers are in control. Means at this point over here, there are buyers coming in willing to buy at these lower prices. And at this point, they are pretty much in equilibrium. And the third candle kind of seals the deal where the buyers stepped in and pushed price all the way higher. And finally, closing near the highs. So with that said, right, a morning star, you should have a good idea that it's actually a bullish reversal pattern. Buyers are momentarily in control, and the larger it is, the more significant the pattern is. So one thing I want to point out is not just morning star, any candlestick pattern that you come across, you always have to be prepared that there are many variations to it. So what I've just shared with you in this candlestick series training video is the ideal textbook pattern. But when it comes to the real world, it may not look like the textbook pattern. So it's important to understand what the candlestick patterns are telling you. So this is why I always go through this visual explanation of who's in control, what's happening, and what's going on. So similarly, right, the morning star, just a quick one, is that sellers are in control. Then we have a doji telling you that buyers and sellers are in equilibrium, and then finally the buyers took control and closed price and close near the highs of the candle. So with that, let's have a look at some example. So this is a daily chart, the New Zealand dollar. So I think this one over here, I would call this a morning star, right? Sellers came in, pushed price lower. You have somewhat of a doji, and this candle, even though it didn't close as high compared to the first candle, it's still relatively bullish, closing near the highs, right? I think almost 2/3 the way through. Okay, this one is another one. I will also consider this a morning star, right? Notice the strong bearish candle, sellers in control. Then you have somewhat of a doji, but this doji again, you have a very long wick, right, signaling a price rejection. And finally, the third candle came in where the buyers stepped in and closed somewhere near the highs. I mean, ideally, right, the best pattern is where this bullish candle closes, above this highs over here. So this is what I say, by you have to take things into context. You cannot memorize patterns, because if you do that, right, you will always get thrown off guard whenever the market presents a variation of whatever candlestick pattern that you have memorized. So this is why I say it's important to understand the context, or rather to understand what the candlestick patterns are telling you, right? Whether buyers are in control, sellers in control, equilibrium, and stuff like that. And similarly for this one, right, you can see that I would also consider this another variation of the morning star, right? You can see that sellers are in control, selling, pushing down selling pressure. And then you have somewhat of an indecision candle over here, right? Relatively small bodied candles. And then this third candle is where the buyer stepped in and pushed price, and finally, closing not exactly at the highs, but rather bullishly. So I would consider this, as another variation of the morning star as well. So this one is another variation, and this one is another variation. So this is why I said, right, it's important to understand what are the different nuances, variation that the candlestick pattern can present. Because if you were to just look for the textbook setup that I just shared with you earlier, you can see that pretty much you're not really going to find anything on this chart. So it's important to understand what the markets are telling you. Okay, so just a quick recap into what you've learned in this video. Number one. Okay, just a quick recap to what you've learned in this video. Number one, the morning star is a bullish reversal pattern, right? Buyers are momentarily in control. As you notice, the third candle is where the buyers stepped in and pushed price higher. And the larger it is, right, the more significant, right, this reversal pattern will be. Okay, so with that said, I have come to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next.